if the good guys and gals don't take the House in the election or the Senate, what,
Keep trying.
yeah, at the federal level,
Keep trying. Get in voter registration,
we are.
set them up at schools, on the street. We have to work within our democratic processes. We also have to be the sand in the machine that creates the friction to resist it. Again, non-violently. I just never advocate violence. But, you know, my daughter just lives 2 blocks from here. My car's parked in front of her house. When she went out of her mind when Trump got elected almost 2 years ago, and she was terribly distraught. I didn't know what to tell her. What do we do? She was out of control and so upset, like a lot of millennials and Xers are in seeing such disappointment in the political process. And said, what do we do? The question I get at all of these talks that I've given, I get that question every time. And I just say, fight. Fight. Don't give it to them. Fight. There are more of us. We are many. They are few. We just have to stand up to it.
Well, we did vote, and the popular vote did win, but it didn't matter.
Well, we have a rigged system, too. And I teach political science. I remember in a political science class in the 90s at Whatcom, I was saying about, somebody asked me about the Electoral College. And I said, it's a piece of crap. It's an anachronism. It should be done away with. But it hasn't affected that many American elections. You know, Quincy Adams in 24, William Henry Harrison in 1888. Just a few times. I said this in the 90s, naively. I said to my students, I said, but if it affected an election now, we'd be so mad about it that our vote was robbed, the popular vote was robbed, that we'd get rid of it. Boy, was I wrong. Do you know how many liberal Supreme Court justices there would be if the Electoral College had not robbed us in 2000 and in 2016? It would be 7-2 majority. It would be a 7-2 majority.
So how do we get rid of the electoral?
Work within the system. I don't know. Revolution. Non-violent, but revolution. We need to reform our political system. It is clearly broken. There's a great book by an author from Texas, a guy named Sanford Levinson. He's from Texas A&M. He has a blog, and we go in and discuss these things. And the name of his book is Our Undemocratic Constitution, in which he looks at, unvarnished, sincerely looks at what is wrong with our system now and how to fix it. He's got some great suggestions. First on the list, to get rid of the Electoral College. He believes in abolishing the Senate. That the idea of states' rights is an antiquated idea, too. He's got a number of other really great suggestions. He talks about the iron cage that is Article 5 of the Constitution. The way we change the Constitution makes it nearly impossible. Yeah.
My observation, and definitely I'd be willing to talk with people about this, but my observation is that we've got to do a lot of house cleaning in our own party too. I mean, we look at Cantwell and Murray, and when's the last time they've ever been up into our area?
Rick Larson. He never saw a weapons program.
You know, they're all tied into Boeing. They're all tied into the mega corporations down in Seattle.
I'll tell you, I know.
I'll tell you, to me, there is much fascist. I mean, they give you all the warm and fuzzy talking points, but when do they really energize the base? When do they come up and energize the people?
Rick Larson goes door knocking and...
When's the last time he's had a demonstration at Mount Baker Theater? You know, Rankin came over, Senator Rankin came over, had one a couple years ago.
Actually, Ricky Boy came down to the vigil, which I've been going through for over 16 years, and he ruled the day. I was yelling at him from across the street, and because I didn't know whether he was gonna come over or not, so I was just yelling stuff at him, you know, like how many, you know, ever see a weapons system you didn't like, on and on. He's a big, tall drink of water, I'm not. And he starts walking across the street, and I see his head, he's, you know, kind of all bright red. He's got this handler who's trying to keep up with him, and he's crossing the street, he's making a beeline for me, and he's not even all the way across the street to where I am. And he yells at me, he's gonna try and intimidate me, and he yells at me and he says, you know, you don't need to yell. And I yelled right back at him and I said, yes, I do, because you're not listening. Somebody needs to yell at me. That's what I think you're trying to say, is I think the Democrats need to grow a spine and fight back. It's part of fighting back. We have a party to do that. I'm agreeing. I've always voted third party. I never have identified as a Democrat. I'm never voting third party ever again because of where it's gotten us. I will hold my nose and vote Democrat. But, and I'm sorry, most Democrats here, I don't mean to bite the hand that feeds, but I would like to have a Democrat party that I would like to join and be proud of. I don't see that now.
Democrat.
I see two sides of the same coin. Is this what you're saying, or am I?
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Well, you're echoing my thoughts.
Old goats up there in the federal area that they're just dead.
Another question here. Get up.
I just wanted to say on the voter suppression stuff, there is a guy named Greg Palast.
Oh, Greg Palast. Armed to Madhouse.
P-A-L-A-S-T, he's a bulldog
yeah.
on voter suppression.
Armed to Madhouse is one of his books.
And Best Democracy Money Can Buy.
Yeah.
And he has just published on his website the voter purge list from Georgia and Indiana. So people can go online and see if they've been purged.
Yeah.
And
P-A-L-L.
this is costing him a lot of money. So if you've got an extra buck or two, Greg Palast,
Yeah.
Best Democracy Money Can Buy.
He's great.
P-A-L-A-S.
He turned over all the rocks in Florida from 2000. He exposed how corrupt that.
And Rogers, Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch, all three of them helped overturn the Florida vote in favor of.
Any other questions?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on, supporting third parties. I love to do it, and I supported Bernie Sanders, and that's how I got involved in the Democrat.
I was all for Bernie too.
Yeah, but
until his own party torpedoed it.
yeah. So I mean, the Democrats have to get, or liberals, I think in general, have to get discipline, and that means we have to support. We should support Democrats across the board. And on Saturday at the Village Green, there's going to be a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock between the voter or a door knocking drive to support Democrats.
That's great. Thanks, Keith. It's good to know.
I know that in some parts, not in Washington supposedly, but in some of the states, because they're so gerrymandered, that they actually do have the minority beating the majority because of the way they've written it.
Yeah.
When's the best chance? Do they have to wait till the census in 2020?
Yes, the 2020 census now, if the Democrats can get control of the House and maybe even the Senate, then they can begin to have a little bit more of a control over how districts are formed and get rid of gerrymandering, which has so been the Republicans had a plan for 10 years, 2000 to 2010, from census to census, in which they mapped this out. They knew exactly what they were going to do, and they were going to gerrymander as many districts as they could to get a disproportionate number of votes, of delegates in Congress. That's what the districting does, is it determines the congressional districts. And they've gamed the system, and they've done it very well. But Hillary gets 3.5 million more votes than the other guy. It's clear there are more of us than them, more people.
Because, and that's what, they know that they are outnumbered.
Yeah.
The only way to win is to cheat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, like they did with Obama's last nomination to the
Yeah,
Supreme Court.
absolutely.
That's one of the most outrageous things I've ever seen. As a political scientist, I've never seen anything like that in American history. I said, that's never happened before.
And Mitch, they
To
have
were a
a-
nominee to the Supreme Court, the power to appoint, which is one of the most powerful executive powers, is completely just ignored by the majority party because they can.
What I want to say is about the Electoral College is, I think that this is where the left has a problem. And that is thinking about, okay, what we need to do is change the Electoral College. What we need to do, that's maybe an eventual step. What we need to do is stop voter suppression so that that can't happen. And those are some of the things that we can do here locally, is to make sure and hold accountable our auditors across the country, making sure that the kind of thing doesn't happen, and you have more power than to go back, try and change the Constitution, which is really hard, try and change the Electoral College. Maybe with that in mind, but we really need to focus. You know, we know that in 2016, Trump didn't win. He suppressed a hell of a lot of votes, though. So we have to make sure that that doesn't happen, and we have to protect it in the communities where we live, that we have some power, because in those places, as in Georgia, they don't have that power. They don't have that power. There's something in the back. There. Go ahead. In the back. Yeah.
Lynn,
We don't hold anyone accountable in this country. Who assassinated JFK? Martin Luther King? Eric Kennedy? Who committed the events of 9/11? All of that is just dismissed. Until we start to hold people accountable, we're going nowhere.
well, it's the whole idea of corruption. The system has become profoundly corrupt. And I don't know if we can fix a corrupt system with a corrupt system. I'm kind of for revolution myself. I think we need to start with something a little bit healthier. The United States was the first country in the world that sat down and wrote its laws. Or sat down, this is such an astounding event in human history, and decided what kind of society they would be by putting it on paper. We were the first. We made the earliest mistakes. There are constitutions in the world that are better than the United States. This is one thing that Sanford Levinson talks about in Undemocratic Constitution, is how expansive, say, the Danish Constitution is, or the Swedish Constitution, which guarantee housing, jobs, healthcare, education, guarantee them in writing in their constitutions. This is what FDR wanted to do with the Second Bill of Rights in 1944. I don't know whether you know that or not. Look up the Second Bill of Rights. FDR wanted to guarantee housing, education, and health care in 1944. And accountability, somebody stopped him. Somebody stopped that cold. When he died, those ideas died with him. Yeah.
Talk about accountability, and we talk about the idea of saying, at least for the time being, that it's a two-party system. Then I think what we really need to hold accountable is the party we're going to support. There's an awful lot of people who can define what the problem is. They can define what all the issues are that we'd like to have changed. But it seems like we're building a path for a leader to come through and do that for us. And so if we would hold whatever party we decide to as an opposition party, hold that leadership accountable to the principles and ideas that we would like to see brought forward. That to help promote and support those candidates that support that party platform. Does that sound unreasonable?
Broken system trying to fix a broken system. I'm sorry.
Well,
It doesn't.
if that's all we have is a broken system, then we have to fix it. And so
Or-
if we are going to support a party,
So
I'm a
speaking
revolutionary, I gotta tell you.
speaking
I'm
of
not
that-
gonna shock anybody by saying that, but I think it's busted, beyond repair.
If-
Look
for
what we
those
ended
of
up
us-
with. Look what we've ended up with.
Well,
How did that happen?
how do we revolt? How do we do
So
that?
there are things that you could be doing right now. If you want to make calls, if you want to knock on people's door and talk to them, there's plenty of things that you can do, like Keith said, right now to impact our local elections. If you're interested, on your way out, come make a mark and we'll get in touch with you and tell you how you can do it. Our big push right now is millennials and women. That's who we're reaching out to as Democrats. So I picked out 2 names for, I didn't pick them specifically, I picked out 2 numbers. The first one was Ronnie Lenore, and there's 2 door prizes up here. So you get the first pick. And the second one was Joe and Peggy. Yeah. So one of you can get the other thing.
Joe, you want something? It's not all doom and gloom after all. We're doomed.
So we got the candy bar and the whatever's in the red bag that I'm not going to tell you.
What do I hear from the duck? His name is Donald.
She refused to tell me what it is.
Can you say that? Share it.